Welcome to today's video. Today we are actually going to do something a little different. Instead of doing the exterior mods or suspension or something like that, we're actually going to work on the interior, specifically the radio. If you have an IS and you have a stock radio, you really only have two options, right? Or actually three options. One, you can listen to the radio, or two, you can get a Bluetooth transmitter here, which works, but two problems. One, the sound quality is terrible, and two, which I personally ran into, is every once in a while I'll actually pick up someone else's station if they have the same one or if they're on the same channel, which kind of kills the vibe, right? But the other option is, of course, you can always put an aftermarket radio like how I'm doing. However, I'm doing it with a little twist, and let me show you. All right, so I picked up this cheap Atoto radio here, wireless CarPlay. It runs off of Android, which I'll go later on why I chose this one. But you can always install aftermarket radio, which will sit right down here, and the climate control is on top. However, what I'm going to try and do is actually swap the climate control down here and then the radio up here. So imagine this. Instead of it being down here, it's now up here, right? So here's why. All right, so imagine if you're sitting in your car and you look over to your radio. Naturally, your eye is gonna be up here, right? Not down here. That's the idea. Will it work out? I'm not sure. I've only seen, I think, one or two pictures of someone doing it, and that's it. I try to find tutorials. I try to find videos on YouTube. We're gonna try and do it. So we'll see. Hopefully it works out great. The other thing is, if it's down here and I have a hydro right here, it'll be hard for me to change the volume or whatnot rather than it be up here. Although now that I think about it, might be the same, but who knows, who cares. But we'll see. Let's bring the radio in and brainstorm how to do this. All right, so I took a look at this for a little bit and I think I have an idea. So luckily this top part is a lot wider than this bottom part. So we know for sure that we're gonna have to trim the outside of this. And looking on the side of it, it looks like I'll probably have to use those two screws. I may have to just kind of drill a hole and screw it in here somehow. But I think the first step is I want to make sure that the climate control sits relatively the same as the radio down here. So I'm looking at this and I think I have a reference point. If you look right here, it kind of goes across. So I think I'm gonna tape a line right here on both sides of the bracket. That way, whenever I do trim it, this edge or this bottom piece will sit about the same height. Now, as far as trimming goes, I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna measure the width of the bottom and then the width of the top up here, and then I'm gonna transfer it up here. So basically, whatever the width is down here should be up here, and whatever the width is up here will go up here. To make it centered, I think I'm gonna mark the center line of this radio, or actually this whole thing, and then measure from here to here, here to here. At least that's the plan. So looks like I have to trim. Maybe I'll get probably pretty close to this from what it looks like. And then from there, we're gonna have to figure out how to mount the radio, figure out how to mount this thing. Luckily, it came with a bunch of universal brackets here. So I know for sure I'm gonna have to drill out some holes and just screw it in place. I don't know, but I don't know. I guess we'll see. So, bottom here I drew a line where it roughly should be on both sides, but I did a little bit of math. So the width of this bottom length down here is about 7 7/8, and then the width of this is about 8 13/16. On this one, the bottom again is 8 13/16. The top is 9 1/2. However, this is shorter than this. So what I did was I measured the height of this compared to this and marked a line. And then from there, I measured across. All in all, basically what that means is the bottom here, I will have to cut a total of 7 7/8. And then the top, I have to cut a total of 8 3/4. So what I'm gonna do now is find the center point, center line here, and then measure from here out here to 3 15/16, which it also means 3 15/16 out here. And then on top, from the center line out, should be 4 3/8, which also again means it should be even from 4 3/8. So from there, I'll mark wherever it is on top, bottom, and cut a straight diagonal line right there. And that, in theory, should fit right there. All right, just to show you what I did. So I don't know if you can't see it, but I put a little nick, I guess you can't really see right there. And then you can see right on top, I just pretty much marked it right there, right where my fingernail is. On this side is like about right there. So if I did the math right, that should be 4 all right, so that is about 4 3/8 at that line right there, right here. And then on the other side, right here, that from that line to the center, it is 4 3/8. So all right, so I trimmed it. I actually cut it a little bit more than what I should have. That way I can use sandpaper and clean it up a little bit. This side is not all that great, but it was a lot. Basically, I'll show you what it looks like from the bottom. This side here, look at the side profile. All that is gone. On this side, ignore that little oomp, but all that side is gone. So now, bring it to the car. So now I reinstalled this little tray here to give me like a starting base. But now this should sit something like that. Sick. So that pretty much lines up pretty well. Right there, except for this bottom here. And then same on that side. So now we're going to trim the back part of it. So we'll get to that next. I'm pretty sure I have to trim this part right here, especially the bottom there. on both sides, but luckily this piece clips on top right up here. It also uses 2 screws right there too, but I don't think if I have to trim more, then I definitely won't be using that. So these 2 clips will hold in place. Worst cases, I can always glue it as well. Also, this bottom right here, I trimmed up all the nubs so that it sits flat on that bottom piece. So I'm gonna keep on trimming and test fitting, and hopefully it fits, and I'll keep you guys updated. So I got the front and the back half all trimmed. It can go in and out for a little bit, but it fits pretty well. I had to trim a lot. I mean, if you look at this, it's a lot. And it's pretty much even on both sides. I think I'm trying to keep this little screw hole here if I can. If not, then it's no worries, but yeah, that's a lot. So now I gotta figure out the other parts. Okay, so I put the climate control back on, and it looks like I have to trim a little bit on the PCB there, which I am not that excited about because I still want this to work. But looking at it, it looks like I can trim just a little bit on the edges right here and be okay. I just got to be really careful not to hit the contacts or anything. But I'll try it and see if it works or not. This thing is in. This bottom piece is also in. This top piece is in for now because I want to take measurements here. I want to put the screen right in the middle of the space here. But so far it's looking good. It's not perfect by any means, especially if I'm being nitpicky. It's not perfect by any means. If I'm being nitpicky, like this area right here, it's not the same as this area right here. But for now, I think that would work. So let me show you what I did to attach this to the OEM metal brackets. All right, so this is what it looks like using the metal bracket here. Basically what I did was on the stock bracket, on the stock radio, I measured from this point here to the point of this bezel or the radio face, and then I mimicked it on this part right here, and I found this hole right here, which is on this bracket right here, actually was very close to this hole right here. Basically what I did was I took a Dremel and trim off a little bit of metal right there so that it would reach. So you can tell here it's kind of oblonged. And then the other thing was, you don't have to do this, but you can drill a little hole here if you want to put another screw. It does pivot a little bit right there. So what I'll probably do is test fit it, make sure everything fits, take it out, and then screw it down, and also add another screw right there to hold it in place. So, oh, also on the back of these brackets have these little nubs. I had to trim off one of them right here so that it sits flat. So that it sits flat against the plastic box. So I am gonna go back and then trim this hole here, and then we'll proceed to figure out that part. All right, so I figured out the bracket. Basically the bracket that came with the radio, there's this one bolt hole right here. I guess it's for like a different model or a different vehicle, but it happens to line up with the OEM bracket right there. Now the hole is just a little bit smaller, so I just took a drill bit and just made it bigger. I mean, very slightly. The other thing was I had to trim the bracket that came with the radio as well, hitting the plastic, so I just drilled out this little piece right here on both sides. So otherwise, let's go test fit it, and hopefully everything works, especially the climate control. All right, so I got the brackets on, I got the radio in, climate control, this bottom piece, this top piece. So pretty much it's all set and it's pretty sturdy. The good news is now everything works. So my hazards, AC, all this, everything works, which is great. The radio works. So now the next obstacle is figuring out this faceplate right here. So I think I'm just gonna run to Home Depot and see what they have and try to do my best to trim it. But otherwise, everything is going to plan. All right, so it's been about a week or so, and finally finished the install. This is what it looks like with the bezel now. So I think it looks pretty good. Not perfect, you know, there's some little gaps here, there, but you know, this thing is just basically a 3D print that I had my buddy print out. I basically made out of piece of paper, and then he just 3D printed me a little piece. But overall, I think it looks pretty good. Not that bad. From the driver's view, that's what it looks like now. Obviously, that's not in the way. I don't think it ever would have been, but at least it's like up here now, so which is sick. So I'm pretty happy about that. I think it looks pretty cool. Definitely not something that, you know, I needed to do, but it was something I wanted to do. Keep myself busy and, you know, something different, you know. But I had a blast. You know, thanks for watching. I hope you learned something. Maybe it inspired you to do the same thing. Who knows? But just know that it's doable. So I appreciate you guys watching, and stay tuned for the next one. Peace.